Now let's switch to physical security scenario. Now imagine a major technology data center that houses hundreds of server racks or networking infrastructure. Okay. Now this serves as the central hub for sorting and processing massive amounts of user data. Now, here is why physical security is just as crucial as digital security. What is the real world risk? Now, if an intruder physically walks into the facility, they could plug in a rogue flash drive. Okay, they could steal physical hard drives or literally unplug critical infrastructure. Now, what's the impact? So the impact would be a physical breach completely bypasses the firewalls and passwords. Now, putting all stored information at possible risk. Now, to to stop physical breaches, data centers could set up multiple layers of security at the entrance. Um, Number one, controlled entry access. Okay. Access is or will be strictly limited using key cards, PIN codes, and biometric verifications like fingerprint or face scans. Surveillance cameras, CCTV. Okay. CCTV cameras are strategically or must be strategically uh, positioned to continuously monitor entryways, the server rack's location, and a high risk zones. Okay, you can also provide man traps and turnstiles. Okay, a man trap is or man trap is an enclosed chamber with two interlocking doors where the inner door won't able to unlock until the outer door is completely closed and authenticated. Now, this prevents tailgating, which is when an authorized person closely follows an authorized employee through an open door. Okay. And perimeter security or perimeter fencing and barriers. Okay, high fences, vehicle gates, and concrete bollards, okay, would secure the outer campus or outer facility to block unauthorized vehicles or intruders. So you have here an example of mantrap or a turnstiles. Okay, an illustration of mantrap. Now inside our server rooms, okay, an extra protection for safeguarding both the hardware and environment could be for number five, biometric scanners. Okay, an inner server rooms use secondary iris or fingerprint scan so that only specific authorized engineers or staff can enter the uh, room or the server room. Now, environmental controls. Security security is not just about stopping people, okay? It's also about stopping physical elements, precision precision cooling, okay? Or weather or temperature, okay? Would keep hardware from possible overheats, okay? And that would and a clean agent fire suppression systems like fire extinguishers could avoid any damages on electronic or delicate electronics, okay, within that server rooms. Now, um, you have also on-site security guards or on-site security personnel. Okay, station security personnel would monitor live camera feeds and physically inspect key areas to respond instantly if an incident occurs. So next, you have your tamper evidence seals, specialized serialized security tape and plastic seals are placed over server racks or server rack doors and cabinet locks. Now, um, if someone tries to open a cabinet without authorization, the seal would become broken, or will the seal will break, or will leave behind a clear void pattern. Now, that will be need or that will need technicians, or that will inform, okay, immediately, the technicians on knowing immediately what the hardware was tampered with. Okay, so you have here your tamper evidence sales. So question number three: what is the specific term for for an enclosed entryway with two interlocking doors designed to prevent tailgating into a data center? Ken, uh, what do you call an enclosed entryway with two interlocking doors that is designed to prevent tailgating into a data center? Next, let's check the endpoint security scenario. Think about a major corporate enterprise where hundreds of employees uses laptops, desktops, and company smartphones to do their task or works. Now, here is the possible reason, or what are the possible uh, reasons why do we need to protect the endpoints. Okay, what is really the real world risk, or what is really the risk? Okay, employees connect from home, cafes, or airports. Now, these individual devices are the primary target for phishing, malware, and physical theft. Okay. Now, what's our goal? The goal is to secure every single endpoints or devices in in or from unauthorized access. Okay, we would also keep sensitive business data safely and will block cyber threats from using a single compromised laptop as a doorway into the entire company network. Now, to guard these possible devices, companies could implement essential baseline controls such as antivirus and anti-malware software. Okay, uh, every device runs updated security software to scan for, also to detect and isolate malicious files or malware in a real time. You also have your host-based firewalls. Okay, firewalls that are configured on each individual endpoint devices or endpoints could monitor and filter incoming and outgoing network traffic, adding a uh, strong line of defense even when of the corporate network. Full disk encryption. Technologies like BitLocker or FileVault encrypt the device's entire hard drive. Now, if an employee accidentally leaves their laptop in a taxi, the thief cannot cannot read any of the stored files without the decryption key. Now, endpoint detection and response, or EDR. Okay, EDR tools continuously monitor device behavior for suspicious activity, alerting security teams to act instantly if a possible threat is or a threat is detected. So you have your mobile device management solution, okay, or mobile device management. And MDM platforms would enforce a company security policies on smartphones and tablets. Now, if a if a company phone gets lost or was stolen, okay, the IT can trigger a remote wipe to delete all corporate data instantly.
Mobile devices have become essential tools in today's modern workplaces as they enable us to access important applications and data anywhere, anytime. They help employees and students to excel, they serve on the front line in retail and logistics, and even deliver life-saving information in the healthcare industry. But in order to empower a mobile workforce, organizations need to manage their devices efficiently, and that's not always an easy task. Organizations might struggle with keeping track of their devices and device users, managing different devices efficiently, and ensuring data and device security. Luckily, there's Mirador. With Mirador Unified Endpoint Management, you can manage all your organization's smartphones, tablets, and laptops securely from a single cloud-based platform. It's easy to use and has all the right features for effective device management. With Mirador, you can quickly get a view of your entire device inventory and device users and access essential information on both hardware and software, which helps you keep your devices up and running. You can also deploy configurations, applications, and software updates automatically from the cloud while enabling your employees to work with the tools they prefer. And wherever your employees use their devices, you can keep your IT assets and data safe by enforcing strong passcodes, encrypting sensitive data, restricting the use of certain features, and locking and wiping a device if needed. Mirador is a smart choice if you want to stay up to date with your device fleet, simplify device management across multiple operating systems, and secure your company data and devices. It's quick to set up and provides all the right features for your business with affordable and flexible licensing. Increase your employees' mobility without compromising security and start managing your devices smarter with Mirador.
So an example of mobile or of an MDM. Okay. So EDR, here are EDR industry possible solutions. Okay. We have popular platforms that would include enterprise tools like CrowdStrike, Microsoft Defender, Sentinel-1, VMware, or the VMware Carbon Black, and Trend Micro. These tools could give security analysts full visibility across thousands of connected machines. And finally, to prevent unauthorized software from compromising a device, the IT department could enforce strict application whitelisting and blacklisting rules. This would ensure employees can only run approved safe business applications, and that would block untrusted third-party software or unverified downloads from executing or being installed. So let's check. at how application control policies could be practiced, starting with application whitelisting. So, what really is application whitelisting? It's a whitelisting, or it's a strict, okay, security approach, okay, where only pre-approved or explicitly trusted applications are permitted to run on a system. If an app is not on the approved list, the operating system automatically blocks it from opening. So here are some whitelisting tools, enterprise tools that could be used for whitelisting. Okay. So next, application blacklisting. Instead of blocking everything by default, blacklisting allows applications to run unless they appear on a specific list of known malicious or unauthorized software. This would aim to block known malware, torrent clients, or unapproved software. Some blacklisting tools that you can make use of. Then, when a new, okay, unverified application doesn't fit neatly on a whitelist or a blacklist, we could use gray listing. Okay, gray listing takes a cautious wait and see approach. Okay, a wait and see approach. Instead of instantly allowing or blocking an unknown program, we could delay the execution decision and monitor its behavior in a restricted environment. Now, if it behaves safely over time, okay, this could be moved to the whitelist, or if it exhibits suspicious actions, that will be moved to the blacklist. This could give um, this could give the IT a great balance between security and productivity or performance of employees. So here are some common tools that can offer behavioral monitoring and gray listing functionality. Okay. So question number 4: if our IT team wants a cautious approach for an unknown software, or for unknown software where an app is temporarily delayed and monitored before deciding whether to allow or block it, what is that policy called? Again, write your answer in the paper that you have, or where you answered your question number 1. For question number 4, again, uh, if an IT team would be cautious or would want a cautious approach for an unknown software, where your app is temporarily delayed or monitored before deciding whether to allow or block it, what is that policy called? Whitelist, blacklist, or the gray list? To complete our endpoint protection controls, we have your behavioral analysis tools. These tools continuously monitor real-time user and application behavior on endpoint devices. Instead of just looking for known file signatures, they would look for an unusual actions, like like a word processor that is suddenly trying to rewrite system registry, okay, and possibly flag a potential threats instantly. You also have your USB control policies. Flash drives are a major attack vector for malware injection and data leakage. Now, enforcement policies would strictly control USB usage on endpoints, either blocking flash drives, okay, setting them to a read-only mode, or logging every file copied to external storage. Then we have our cloud security scenario. Okay, imagine a global e-commerce business that shifted all of its infrastructure to platforms like AWS, Azure, or the Google Cloud to scale up operations quickly. Now, here is why cloud security takes specialized tools, or what is the real world risk. Okay, when hosting sensitive customer data and critical business apps in offsite data centers, traditional physical perimeter guard, okay, won't help you. Okay, won't help you alone. Okay, misconfigured cloud settings can instantly expose databases to the public web. Now, the goal is a robust cloud controls that would ensure that scalability doesn't uh, come at the cost of data breaches, leaks, or any unauthorized accesses or access. Now, what are the or to secure the cloud environments? Okay, here are some measures. You have your IAM policies, or the identity access management. Okay, which strictly define who can access specific cloud resources following the principle of least privilege, wherein an intern might have read-only access to a test folder, while senior engineers can modify database configurations. Another is cloud data encryption. Just like in application security, cloud environments encrypt data both in transit across the network and at rest inside the cloud storage platform. We also have security groups and network access controls. Security groups act as a virtual firewall at the cloud instance level. They would dictate exactly which inbound and outbound traffic is permitted to touch virtual machines. And multi-factor authentication for management consoles. Cloud management consoles could grant uh, full admin control or power over an organization's whole virtual infrastructure. Enforcing a multi-factor authentication would ensure that stolen admin credentials won't let an attacker hijack the cloud services. Security audits and continuous monitoring. Automated tools could instantly or constantly inspect cloud configurations to detect unauthorized changes that will expose storage packets or suspicious API calls in a real time. Next, you have your cloud-based firewalls. This would inspect traffic flowing across the cloud networks, in, uh, which could also enforce strict policies across hosted applications and databases. Data backups and disaster recovery. We must regularly back up cloud data across separate geographic regions to ensure business continuity. If a system fails or data gets lost, okay, a snapshot backup could allow rapid recovery. Then, shared responsibility with cloud service providers. Cloud security is a team effort. Okay, organizations that work with their CSP could ensure, okay, the underlying infrastructure, or the infrastructure that would comply with industry standards and data protection laws. So, lastly, the compliance enforcement, which is an automated monitoring tools which enforce compliance with regulations like the GDPR or HIPAA inside the cloud setup. Okay, staff members could receive targeted training on secure cloud practices. Okay, learning how to avoid misconfiguring public access, okay, or sharing internal cloud credentials improperly. So to wrap up module 2, okay, let's check everything together. We started by breaking down the fundamental goals of information security by protecting confidentiality, integrity, availability, and authenticity. We also saw how the or explain how the CIA triad serves as the core foundation for every security strategy that you will be building. From there, we look at how these principles apply to be applied on the five major domains or classifications of security. Network security, that would lock down communication lines with firewalls, VPNs, and segmentation. Application security, uh, which will catch code flows early using code reviews, static analysis, and web application firewalls. Physical security, which will protect hardware directly with man traps, biometric scanners, and tamper evidence seals. You also have your endpoint security, guarding every devices or guarding your devices every day using or in every certain moment using a full disk encryption, EDR tools, and whitelisting policies. And you have your cloud security, which will manage offsite environments with IAM policies, cloud firewalls, and disaster recovery plans. Now, at the end of the day, security is not just about installing one tool. It's about layering these different classifications together so that if one line of defense fails, another is right there to uh, catch the possible threat. So thank you, and please answer or provide all the answers or your answers, okay, rather on next meeting, okay, or as we have our face to face. Thank you.